We have new information this morning on the attacks around Atlanta that killed 8 people on Tuesday, including 6 Asian women. The suspect, 21-year-old Robert Long, is charged with murder and aggravated assault.
The suspect, Robert Long, told police he's a sex addict, not a racist. But there are plenty of people who believe that this was a hate crime.
Hypersexualization of Asian American women is part of the racism toward Asian Americans. It's going to take the word of a mass shooter who happens to be white against the lived experience of the Asian American community.
He was pretty much fed up and kind of at the end of his rope, and yesterday was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did.
I couldn't believe that a police captain was recounting the bad day that the killer had.
Yeah. Then in the press conference yesterday, Captain Jay Baker said the suspect was just having a bad day. And people discovered that Jay promoted COVID-19 t-shirts on Facebook that were derogatory towards Asians.
I just have one thing to say. Hang on here.
I thought it was the textbook definition of white privilege. Yesterday when I saw it, I was really angry.
And he was pretty much fed up and kind of at the end of his rope, and yesterday was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did.
So basically, people are upset that he said he was just having a really bad day, and that's why he did that.
What else?
8 people died.
What else that crack cop had to say?
Well, yeah, that's what he said about, he had a bad day.
Man,
that's way worse than having a bad day.
F Captain Jay Baker, okay? F that dude in his bad day. I hate how the media spins things for white people.
A disenfranchised, crazy white guy has a bad day, and society's pushed him so much, so he was pushed here, and that's why he went on a shooting spree.
Asian American women in particular have always been seen as subservient and meek, and that they are the type of victim a bully or someone would target.
Yeah. Wow, baby, me so horny. Me so horny. Me love you long time.
Jay Baker, the spokesperson who referred to the Atlanta area massage business shooter as saying he had a bad day.
I know the right wing will think, oh, that's cancel culture. Just because, he thought that the mass murderer was just having a bad day, and he framed his confession as basically a courageous act of taking responsibility, and all the things that he did to frame it on the side of the killer.
Many celebrities have admitted to sex addiction, and as far as I can see, sex addiction doesn't lead to violence. It leads to sex, because she wants to relax, or whatever the idiot said. What did he say? He was having a bad day. I love that. I mean, how stupid are these people at this point? How stupid are they? It's pathetic what's going on.
This is best illustrated by what Vox did this week. They clipped the Cherokee County Sheriff there behind the investigation here in the Atlanta shooting. They clipped him saying it was a very bad day for the shooter. Everyone in the media landscape parroted that. If you're listening at home right now, you probably think that sheriff was excusing the shooter's mindset. If you play that clip 1 minute longer, he's explaining what the shooter was thinking. He was explaining how the shooter explained his motives to law enforcement. And yet, everyone thinks that sheriff said he was just at the end of his rope. And now that sheriff has been asked to step down. Yeah. It does not follow the facts.
Yeah, let me go into a little bit of detail. So the suspect did take responsibility for the shootings. He said that early on, once we began the interviews with him. He claims that these, and as the chief said, this is still early, but he does claim that it was not racially motivated. He apparently has an issue, what he considers a sex addiction, and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places, and it's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate. Like I said, it's still early on, but those were comments that he made. When I spoke with investigators that interviewed him this morning, and they got that impression that yes, he understood the gravity of it, and he was pretty much fed up and kind of at the end of his rope, and yesterday was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did. I'm not going to go to. I don't know if he's remorseful or not.
Just the turn of phrase, right? And the fact that he had the frame of mind, this sheriff's officer, whoever, he had the frame of mind, presence of mind to turn that phrase really points to the fact that this is a comrade of his. This is somebody who he has more identification with than the victims.
And just to be clear, our victims, I know that obviously Atlanta, all their victims were Asian. 2 of our victims were white, in case anyone was unaware of that. We had 2 Asians and 2 whites that were killed at our location.
You know, I think there's no question that some of the damaging rhetoric that we saw during the prior administration, blaming, you know, calling COVID, you know, the Wuhan virus or other things.
It's very important that we totally protect our Asian American community in the United States and all around the world. They're amazing people, and the spreading of the virus is not their fault in any way, shape, or form.
I want everybody within the sound of my voice and our voices to commit to never giving a flu or a COVID, any of these kinds of things, a racial overtone. We don't know where any of these, we don't know where the flu comes from, we don't know where they come from. And I say, everybody right now, commit to never calling it by a racial name again.
Can't yell at someone for breaking a rule you just made up. Scientists, yes, scientists who are generally pretty liberal, have been naming diseases after the places they came from for a very long time.
Concern is growing this morning over an outbreak of a new SARS-like virus in China. At least 6 people have died from the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The 34-year-old ophthalmologist diagnosed Saturday with the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. What more can you tell us about the similarities or differences between SARS and the Wuhan coronavirus?
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus in China.
Zika is from the Zika forest. Ebola from the Ebola River. Hantavirus, the Hantan River. There's the West Nile virus and guinea worm and Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and of course, the Spanish flu. MERS stands for Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. It's plastered all over airports and no one blogs about it. So why should China get a pass?
Let's stop doing that and just call these things what they are.
That's not the Chinese coronavirus that they've been calling. Not the first U.S. case of Chinese coronavirus.
The Chinese coronavirus.
This is coming as the Chinese coronavirus.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus.
Outbreak anxiety. The death toll nearly doubles in China's coronavirus outbreak. China's coronavirus.
Just how bad is China's coronavirus crisis?
When they named Lyme disease after a town in Connecticut, the locals didn't get all ticked off. ticked off.
This is a COVID issue. This is a flu issue. This is an issue that people are talking about, but it does not belong to any racial group.
It's not racist to point out that eating bats is batshit crazy. So when someone says, what if people hear Chinese virus and blame China? The answer is we should blame China, not Chinese Americans.
Why do you keep using this? A lot
Because
of
it
people
comes
say
from
it's
China.
racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. China. That's why. It comes from 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 China.
I am your voice.
Sometimes I even catch myself feeling guilty about pointing out other people's racism. Like I want to cushion the blow for white folks in the audience, because they really, really do get very sensitive about that. And sometimes rightfully so, not often, right? But sometimes, and sometimes wrongfully so. And I catch myself being like, look, guys, can you see why this is? Partly as a way of better communicating
Probably shouldn't have farted before I started that walk.